Hey, y'all, hey! Welcome to the FitZen Project. I'm your host, Rachel Fitzpatrick, and this podcast is built on one simple belief, and that is you are your most important project. Each week, we have real conversations about what it means to be human, because we all know growth isn't always pretty, y'all. Healing isn't always linear, and sometimes the most important lessons come from the moments we'd rather avoid, and that's that. Around here, we're not playing small. We tell it like it is, and we question the stories we've been handed. We challenge the limits we place on ourselves and explore what becomes possible when we start living authentically instead of performatively. My hope is that every episode leaves you with a new perspective, a deeper connection to yourself, and the courage to create that life that feels fully your own. Let's get it, fam. All right, fam, before we dive in, I just want to say thanks for hanging out with me. Like, seriously, in a world full of distractions, notifications, endless things competing for your attention, the fact that you've chosen to spend a little time with me today means a whole lot. And honestly, if this podcast has encouraged you, challenged you, made you laugh, or helped you see something differently, I'd be so grateful if you'd leave a review. It's one of the simplest ways to help this community grow and reach the people who need these conversations most. And if you're not already on my email list, I'd love to connect with you there too. That's where I share deeper reflections and my book club updates, upcoming events, and the behind the scenes journey of building a life with intention. So you can find the link in the show notes. All right, let's get it. When I met Cherie Dawn at the Kentucky Yoga Festival, I knew there was a story there. What started as a conversation about books and a butterfly trail quickly became a much deeper conversation about authenticity, intuition, and creativity. Like, what happens when you stop forcing life and start listening to it? So, Cherie Dawn is an author, a yoga teacher, a former fire performer, and someone who has intentionally built a life that reflects who she truly is and not who the world expected her to be. And I love that so much. So I just want to say, like, in this episode, we talk about writing and yoga and self-leadership and letting go of what no longer serves you. And what I love the most is why the smallest choice often creates the biggest transformations, So I think you're going to love this one. And without further ado, here's my conversation with Cherie Dawn. All right. Hey, Cherie Dawn, welcome to the FitZen Project. I'm excited to have this conversation with you today.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here.
Me too. I've actually been looking forward to this ever since we kind of rekindled at the Kentucky Yoga Festival this year. But what was really interesting about that is it was 2 years ago, I believe, when I met you. And we had met, and then it was like, I knew you looked familiar, but I didn't know from where. And then it hit me like weeks after the Kentucky Yoga Festival. That's where I knew you from, was we practiced together.
Yeah, it is funny. I love how that happens though. Sometimes you blink and a couple of years go by and then you can just instantly reconnect with people.
Yeah, yeah. And what drew me to you was during the festival this year, you attended my class, which was awesome. But it was really cool because you spoke to me on you being an author and your strawberry field that you wanted to grow. So I would love to touch on both of those things today.
Let's do it. And I feel like they're related too. So
Even
they'll be
better.
easy to do.
Yeah, even better. So tell us about yourself and what got us here, basically, from your end.
Yeah, gosh. Oh, where did it start? I think I'll start with the more recent things and then we can go back as we need to. But, you know, um, I think the thing that immediately connected us for this conversation was coming to your workshop. It was the business of self. And I didn't really know what to expect, but it spoke to me. The title spoke to me. And I showed up and it was so moving. And I just loved like the physical practice that you had us do with our yoga asanas and then just the visualizations and things like that. And the reason that that's in line with me in my life is because as an author, it does take that type of work. It takes the physical work and it takes the mental work to get there every step of the way, and it just doesn't stop. And you bounce back and forth and you restart. And you, just like with our yoga practice on the mat, you will do the same thing over and over and over again. And yet it's going to be different every time you do it.
Yeah. I love that you have that practice as not only like a student, but you're also a yoga teacher, right?
I am, yeah. I'm one of those classic people who took the yoga training just for personal development reasons and spiritual development and things like that. And then by the time I graduated from my first certification, I thought, oh my gosh, I've got to share this with other people. I cannot just keep it to myself. And I've had experience leading movement arts in the past. Little past life thing. I was a fire dancer at one point. Before that, as a toddler, I did the holy trinity of tap, jazz, ballet. So dance has just always been with me and teaching and things like that. So teaching yoga was a very natural fit. And I just don't know where I would be without it now, the practice and the teaching.
Yeah. I went through the training myself and I was like, everyone in the world needs this. Like, I've got to you just come out of that and you're just lit on fire, whether you wanted to be a teacher when you started or not. It's just one of those, if you've got a really good training, that is where it comes from. Did you do in person or online?
I did in person, and it was interesting because I'd been thinking about it for a while. And by a while, I mean maybe like a year. Had been thinking about it, but I had 2 teens at the time and, working full time and all the things. And then 2020 happened. And all of a sudden, I had the time because everything was closed. I wasn't leaving my house and I had the money because we weren't spending any money because we were not leaving our house. And so I was able to do the training. We did it in person, but it was very it wasn't as like, I don't want to say personal, but it wasn't as touchy as I would
Yeah.
like it to be. Like we weren't hugging each other, to say hello or goodbye. We weren't sharing meals, we would eat just like in our own little space, spaced out and things like that. So we made it work. And I'm really grateful because otherwise I don't think I could have squeezed that into my life. It's so intensive.
Yeah. That is wild how 2020 opened up so much for so many people. Like, it was absolutely a devastating time, don't get me wrong. But at the same time, I think both can be true, that it was a space for a lot of growth and life enhancements as much as it was devastating for a lot of loss. But it did create a lot of deaths, like ego deaths in turn it was like a hard churn of a wheel, so to speak, for many. So that's really neat that you got to do that during that time. That says a lot to me. I don't know about the community in and of itself, just for what I know and experienced and felt. Yeah, that's great. So did that empower you to be an author, or you did that first?
Question. So I was an author first. My first novel was Girl on Fire, and that was actually inspired by my experiences as a fire dancer and a tribal belly dancer and a fire eater. It all just was sort of woven together in the way that I performed with different groups. And that came about at an interesting time as well. I was doing the fire arts and performing for about 10 years, semi professionally, which means that I had a day job, but I was doing that on the side and getting hired to perform. Um, but a series of things all kind of happened at the same time, like they do. And the group that I was in, which I'm still close with most of those people today, like we all just kind of had life things happening that pulled us away from what we were doing. My kids needed me at home more because, I had been busy like going to rehearsals and going to gigs and things like that. And they just needed me to be around. And then at let's see oh yeah, so like those things were happening, and then the one catalyst that for that time, that's when I kind of stopped like really performing. I began my semi-retirement, as what we called it, is when I had a gig that happened at the same time as my son had a concert performance. And it was a pretty big gig. Like I couldn't just back out of it. It was like a choreographed piece. We were getting paid by a big institution in Cincinnati. And I was like, well, that's just never going to happen again. At that time, I really just did not want to miss out on my kids. They just grow so fast.
Yeah.
And then as they got older, I've decided like, okay, like now it's just tricky. Like I'm still going to do things to live my life, but if I'm going to commit to something, it's going to be either something that's flexible that I can reschedule, or it's going to be worth it no matter what happens, you know? But, at the time when all these things were sort of happening, at work during my day job, I'm an online editor, so I do a lot of writing, and I was writing so much content about things that I knew about, but it wasn't coming from my heart, it was coming from research and things like that, and I thought, If I can write this much for a company, I should be able to write my own words, my own story." And so that became Girl on Fire, and, it was inspired by true stories that I just kinda stretched them like taffy to turn it into, like, an interesting novel, with a character arc and things like that.
That's rad. That's awesome. I feel like that's how the best books are written is from a passion. You could just tell it's a passion project and it's personal as well. So that works in the best way. And
It has to be.
you got another one, don't ugly cry while driving.
Yeah.
Let's hear about this one too, because I think this is the one I want to put in my book club. So I want to hear about what your version is of this, and then I want to read it with my book club, and then I want to come back with you with my members.
I love it. Absolutely. So, Don't Ugly Cry While Driving that was born out of my blog. The Life Soup blog is what I call it, and I write it once a month. I've been doing that for years now just because I love to write, and novels take so long. They just take so long. But a blog, for me, like, is also because I'm an online editor by day, it's just so easy, and I'm just always inspired to share these things, and they're usually somehow tied into yoga or yoga philosophy or self-improvement or just I don't know, like it's that element of wanting to share something that I've learned, with other people to inspire them. So I was writing the Life Soup blog and took a vacation and just driving home all the way from Wisconsin to Kentucky. And I thought, you know what? I've got all this content. They're like these could be short little chapters. And what I decided to do is rewrite each blog post though, so that it wasn't just like copying, pasting. It was really making it better for a book format. And the subject lines became my chapter titles. So that was one of my blog posts. And the title for that, once I had the title, I knew it had to be a book and I knew I had to go through the work to make it happen. But the fun thing is that every time somebody hears the title, they laugh and they're like, oh, I need to read that. And I'm like, I know. We all
Seriously.
do.
I'm really looking forward to this one because I know it's also written on like truth-based things that have happened with you, but I think those are just like the best things that really have you relatable, you know? And that's really what it is. I interviewed a guy not too long ago, Scott Lackey, and he wrote Wake Up to Die Again. And I'm reading that right now as also going to be part of the book club. And what I loved that he had said was it's the one thing that he put out that he knew, like, what's the cost? And it was himself, you know? So, with this being personal to you and it's a bit vulnerable, do you feel that way as well when you're writing this?
Yeah, I definitely you definitely do feel vulnerable when you're sharing the works that you've written. There are all these elements I think that any artist, especially or any creative can relate to because you don't know what people are going to think. Are people going to like it? Are they going to judge it? And that's one of those things kind of like with the yoga poses that I mentioned earlier like you're going to go through that every time you write something new. You're going to have those thoughts, but I think it gets easier just like our yoga poses get easier to let that thought come and then just be like, well, yeah, there are gonna be people that don't like it, and there are gonna be people that judge me for it, and that's okay,
For
because it
sure.
just is what it is, and it just gets easier to not care. Because at the end of the day, like, it's you're choosing authenticity, you're choosing self-expression, and people are gonna relate to it, and I've heard that all my life, and I so firmly believe it now that when we create something from the heart, there is someone who needs that, they need to see that you did it, and I think it empowers them to either do the same, to write their book or start their blog or anything, and then, just carry it through, know that it can be done and there's a reason for it. I feel like there's a reason that ideas come into our brains.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I feel that in my whole body right now, like the hair on my arms just stood up when you said that. So I love when that moment happens because it's just such a confirmation of validation that I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be right now. So thank you. But it does light up though. It lights up yourself, it lights up other people. And you know what I really liked about that is you said not everyone is gonna like it. And the thing about this too is you're not made for everybody and not everybody is made for you. And that's a blessing. That is great. Like how terrible would it be to be made for everybody? Could you imagine how hard choices would be? And, like, how hard it would be to make a move if you were just made for everybody and expected to be loved by every single person.
I mean, it would be hard. And there are so many people out there who try to fit that form for
Mhm.
everybody. And we do put on like our different, personalities depending on the situation that we're in. Like
Yeah.
I feel like that's one thing you just sort of like, that's okay. But as long as you're doing that authentically, and appropriately and not gosh, like, isn't it just a relief to know that you don't have to like everyone, and, like, you can just accept the fact that they are who they are for a reason, and the same with people not liking you, and, I mean, obviously, like, I want people to like me. People don't love me,
Right.
but the way that I live isn't like, that's not for everybody else, and when I say the way I live, I mean living authentically, and my gosh, a friend of mine said recently that she said that I live a Peter Pan life,
Yeah.
like in a loving way, because it's so free. And I built this life like based on very small decisions that add up over the years to like choose the job that gives me flexibility and freedom. And once I left the highest paying job I ever had because it was soul crushing, and I stayed 6 months and I said, "I'm out," so, like, just having the courage to do those types of things and, always just going with your heart, and again, like, when an idea comes, like, follow it and see what happens, like, so that could lead to, like, the butterfly trail, that we had talked about, that
Yeah.
That's a great example of that happening, not to mention the books, like, each of the books have been one of those things, and I hope people find inspiration in that, but with the butterfly trail, that was born out of us well, I guess I could backtrack just a little bit. We once lived in a different town, and someone posted on Facebook, a friend of mine, she said, what's a dream? What is your dream life? Something from your dream life that you want. And I was like, we would love to own some land and just live more in the country. And that was kind of it. And then the next day she posted on Facebook and I saw it and she said, "What's the tiniest step you can take toward that goal?" And I was like, "Oh, well, I guess I could just call the bank, and see where we are with our current mortgage and what can we afford." And I did it. And now like we're living in our dream home and it's not crazy fancy, it's we love it though. And I guess
Yeah.
everything's relative, right? Like everything's
Yeah.
relative. Like we're so content and happy here. And it came with a vineyard, which was unexpected,
Oh,
but we're like,
wow.
"Oh, that sounds so romantic," right? Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
it's a lot of work. So, we managed the vineyard, for about, well, again, about a decade, I guess, that it overlapped with my fire arts, not the same decade, but um, we managed it. And as we saw that it was more work than it was giving us any type of benefit, including joy, I finally convinced my husband to help me cut down all of the vines, which was a job, and then I think we can officially say it is a butterfly trail now, and
I
so we're
love it.
working with the environment, we're working with the earth, we're helping the insects and the deer and the turkey instead of trying to fight all of it, and, that feels really good.
I'm going to reflect some things back to you because there's so much here that you just pulled so many concepts out that I've been working with personally. So I'm going to talk through those. I'm going to name them off. So for one, you said the word the way I lead my life on accident because then you went back and said the way I've lived my life, but you said lead first. And that is like my superpower. Okay. So that happened on purpose, first and foremost. I can't take that away from you or this podcast. So the leading part led you to all of these things. And then you said those expectations of people and how you're not meant for everybody when we were talking about that just a minute ago. And I want to draw that into how that related to your performing and then how naturally you dropped that performance as it was kind of against the grain. And you did it again with this vineyard of taking it out because it was too hard, too much work against the grain. You had to cut it. You said cut it versus fight it. Like that's all self leadership through and through. Like, how does those things came straight from your heart and like you did some internal work? What was that internal work? Because those things don't just happen because your mind said so. That was a body feeling.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. And thank you for recognizing all of those things too. I feel like there's so much packed into language, and that's one of the reasons I love it. It's one of the reasons I love to write. Um, for me, it has been just so many little things, right? So for one, um, listening to podcasts like this and finding inspiration and taking notes in my journal about quotes, little things that people say that really resonate with me. That's one thing. I think going to something like with yoga, it really teaches us to listen to our bodies,
Mhm.
and listen to our intuition and how we feel and why we feel what we feel. And so I think then taking the next step of acting on it, and I think most of us have heard the phrase, like, "If it's not serving you, let it go."
Mhm.
And yeah, like, some people probably think it's a cliche. We hear it all the time, but oh my god, it is so true. It's
Yeah,
just true. And so if it's not bringing you joy, if it's bringing you anything at all that's negative, let it go. Cut it down. Cut down those vines that you're sick of taking over your schedule and your life, and plant your own garden or that's all that's symbolic, obviously, but it's just those little tiny steps. Like, it's talking about it, it's writing it down, it's manifesting it through journaling and taking those action steps.
for sure. Yeah. You said it's a cliche, and I want to talk about that for just a minute because this is something that I read just on the Facebook 2 days ago. One of my friends had posted a picture of this beautiful girl getting married. It was beautiful, and it was modern day photo. And it was a story actually about a grandma and how back in grandma's years, she served the home, she made all the dinners, grew the garden, tended to the children, did the things without necessarily being made to make the dollar in physical form, but showing up with heart and taking care of the homestead while whoever else, the husband, partner, whatever, was going and making the dollar for physical form. And then all of a sudden that turned into not good enough, right? And then she'd have to go out and then she'd go get a job. Well, then she still was supposed to take care of all of the things. So you're not taking away, you're adding on. And then that's still not good enough. So then you can't take care of the children. So you have to outsource it to somebody else to then pay them to take care of the children, to then continue to take care of the house and make the money and do the things. And then there's no time for the garden. There's no time for the food. So that's not good enough. So then you have to go make more money so you can pay for the restaurants, pay for going out, pay for someone to watch your kids, pay for someone to clean your house, pay for all of these things to then at the end of the day still feel like you're not good enough. So as cliche as it sounds and as old-fashioned as it sounds, if it's not serving you, cut it.
Let it go.
She was good enough already. Like, already good enough from the get-go.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's cliche or not, I'm all about cutting it. Like, just let it go. And I love how you said, "I made the most money I've ever made." And then 6 months, it was draining me. I couldn't do it anymore, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah. And it's recognizing that, recognize like hearing what's going on in your mind with it and just realizing that, you have the experience, you have the resources, things are going to come. And like I've heard a million people say that themselves that, that they quit their job and something even better came. Like it's just the way that the universe usually works for us.
Yes,
It just
yes.
is.
It's literally like our partner. It's
Yeah. If we
our
let it be.
yeah, if you can trust it. And it is the way the universe works, but at the same time, you have to take that inspired action and inspired in spirit. And that's part of
Totally.
being in with the universe, right? Like I love yoga so much for the methodologies more than even the practice. The practice itself is a beautiful way to physically form the methodologies on the mat. But I also have gotten into strength training recently and going to a gym for weights just so I can retrain my body in a different way. But the philosophy is the hardcore foundation. Is
Yeah.
that
Well,
yours?
yeah, I mean, that's, when you tie that into yoga easily, when we look at tapas, which is Sanskrit for discipline, right? Which is one of the 8 limbs of yoga. I do strength training as well. I feel like it's just so good for our bodies. And we just need it. And I heard that coming up a lot actually, like at the yoga festival and at the Plaything festival when I was attending different workshops and stuff. And like in addition to yoga, we do need strength, especially like I'm 49. I just turned 49 and
I would
I
never know.
cannot forget my upper body. So
Yeah,
what did you say?
right? I would have never
Yeah.
known that. I was not but awesome. That's so
Yeah.
cool.
It's yoga.
Yeah, right? Show me the way, Cherie Dawn, show me the way. Um,
Yoga, hydration, and I spray my face with rose water once in a while.
yes, same. I try to get that glow, but after sunscreen bogs it down. But anyway, back to you.
Yeah, so it is that, it's that discipline, the same discipline that it takes us to go to the gym. It takes that discipline to show up at my computer to write. And, it's hard either way. I feel like is the thing. Like I feel like when we don't follow our intuition, like you can feel it, you can feel that stuckness,
Yeah,
inside. And it's just so much healthier for us, I think, when we are creating, when we're around people who, we resonate with, who support us and that we want to support. That's a big thing for me is just really holding tight to the people in your life that are good for you and the people who are not good for you slowly let them go too. And you don't have to be mean about it or cut them out, but like figure out a way to set your own boundaries, right? Like boundaries is obviously a really big thing
yeah.
that, I mean, just focusing on that alone, I think can change somebody's life.
I agree 100%. And I love that you did share your age, and I love that you shared your passion for these festivals. And I'd love to also talk about how a lot of people that I tell, so I have corporate America on one side and then my cute little country bumpkin family on the other side, and they think I am nuts. So they're like, "You're going to some hippie fest, blah, blah." I'm like, "Yeah, but these people know shit, you know, like, I need to." They're the ones that I really wanna go with, you know? I don't really want this other, toxicity from the corporate America and everything else in between, you know? I like the people who are grounding with nature. So,
Yes.
can you talk about, like, some of these, like, voodoo things or whatever woo-woo stuff that debunk them? Debunk these people, okay? Help me help you help us.
Oh, for sure. Well, I think that, the biggest thing about coming to something like this, my best friend calls it hippie camp, by the way.
Yeah. Take it
I got
away.
her to come. I got her to come to one of these ones because it's interesting because like she is like my best friend, like my sister friend, and we're total opposites, But it's kind of like that same thing of like if I had a friend in the corporate world who I would really want to spend that time with, I would say, like, do this because for me, like what these festivals are just I think they're just like opportunities for such authenticity and I've been reflecting on that. I'm like, what do I get out of this? Why do I feel so amazing? And I think it's because nobody cares about what you're doing or what you're wearing. And you can go to like I don't sing, for example, like I don't have a great singing voice, but I can go and sing mantras with people for an hour and it feels so good. And they don't care if I was flat or sharp. I just got to do it. Things like that. And I think being outside for so long is really helpful. I think just that time and just when you're connected to the ground, you're with the fire element and the water element and the air element. So just being outside is so good for us. And just being in community with people, I think a big part of it is being offline.
Yeah,
Um, like
yeah,
sometimes like there are places where you can like try to get a signal, but once I park my car, I go on airplane mode. I don't care what. And, for 4 days, I'm not getting distracted by anything else happening in the world or with other people that I care about, but also it's just being present. And
yeah.
so those are the things that I think would debunk what's happening. So yes, we're dancing barefoot with bubbles and yes, we're giving ourselves temporary tattoos and I still have a feather in my hair. I don't care. But doing those just very human things, I just feel like we're being so human, just
Yeah.
being so present with each other and we're dancing and we're singing and we're drumming and we're writing and um I wish that everybody could let their guard down enough to just experience that. And really, I think it's also just being kid-like again for
Yeah.
ourselves. So it's just good for you.
There's so much play, and what I feel from these, I love that you brought in the elements because were you at the Kentucky Yoga Festival last year?
No.
There was a lot of elements there. There was, like, tornadoes, like and you are back to that trusting of the universe and being in partnership, even though there were terrible storms, people's belongings got wrecked. Not one person was hurt and we were all like spared from any type of casualty or no bloodshed whatsoever, right? And then
God.
this year, we had the most beautiful weather you could ask for. And it did have the elements too. Like there's a beautiful creek people are down in, and you don't have to go down and wash in the naked whatever. That's not like the picture that I'm painting here. The picture that I'm painting here is stand up paddle boards. And we're all down there doing yoga on that, or you're out in the creek. There were a little bit of everything there, and the elements, we brought in the fire, of course, and grounding in the nature, but the best part of those things is definitely the community and, like, meeting people like you and getting to share a sacred practice and a journaling session or a creative session with like-minded people or people who are totally opposite of each other, but are sharing that one thing. in one time and space. It's really neat.
It
So
is neat, and sharing that with each other, like, in a way that just holds space for each other and just honors the fact that, like, we might be different and have different, anything and everything, but, it's okay, like, just okay. I think that that's the beautiful thing about it. I've been in corporate, I've worked for a big media company for 10 years, and now I'm with a different media company, but it's more like a family feel, even though it's a publishing company. But when I was in corporate, um, yeah, like you learn a lot and it's just different. It's just a different experience. And I don't know. I guess I'm just saying that I've seen a little bit of everything. I'm glad I am where I am.
that's even better. So I want to ask you, we started our conversation, and I think this is a good way to kind of wrap it into where we want to go. But you started off saying that you attended my workshop, which I'm so grateful you did, and in the business of yourself. What did that mean to you? And what does it mean to you now if that's changed on where you are and what's going on with you?
Well, when we were in that workshop, you led us through this really cool visualization where we saw like the dream version of ourselves or like our highest goal achieved and things like that. And it was interesting for me because it was similar to where I am now. And I realized that that means that I'm very content and I'm so happy. And I recognize how far like as we said this, I'm so grateful for the space I'm in. Isn't it's actually a small cabin that we built for me because I'm a writer. So this is my space, and um a long time ago I defined success for myself. Like what does that look like? And like, yes, I would love to have, all of my books be huge bestsellers, right? I want to be on Oprah.
Right?
You want all the things,
Yeah.
which is still not out of reach, like it might be coming, maybe not today. But for me, success is being asked to show up, and those things happen. Like you invited me to be on this podcast and people invite me to teach at their events. And that to me means everything. It means everything when I send my newsletter and every single time someone will write back to me and say something like, I really needed to hear that, you know, and that's success. Or like, and just all those little things. So it tells me that I'm on the path and I can also allow myself to dream even bigger and like really own that. So that's what I think that I would need to do, like based on just like the workshop that you gave us and like thinking about where my path is. Like I just really need to own the fact that Oprah's team is going to reach out to me.
Absolutely. Absolutely, they are.
Why wouldn't they?
Right. I mean, don't stop believing that.
Yeah, yeah. Because at the end of the day, like, I do what I do because it's my self-expression, like, I feel called to do it, I need to do it, but I know that it's benefiting others, And so that's the really exciting other half of that. So,
Yeah,
yeah, but yeah, so that's it.
that's beautiful. That's really how I feel about doing this podcast too. Like, there's been a lot of times where I'm like, we got another week. What am I gonna do? What am I gonna do? Should I even do it? Should I continue to do this? Like, what trajectory? I'm all over the place, blah, 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 blah. And really, I love it. I love being all over the place because I think we're so conditioned to only have a niche and be in that form for the rest of eternity because that's what everybody expects from us. And where me as a person, I am not the same as I was a year ago. I'm not the same as I was 5 years ago. I don't even have the same interests. My favorite color changes all the time. Like, I'm just always gonna want to talk about something new, something different, something I don't know. So that's the niche. And it's not to fit into everybody's pocket, it's to explore what is possible. So if Oprah listens and her team listens to this podcast, I hope they explore what's possible with Cherie Dawn, because this is where it's at.
It
Like,
is where it's at.
it's an exploration of self and just a different way to do an inquiry. of how good can life get? Like, how good can it get? You know?
Totally. And, like with you building out your podcast, which I am a fan of now, I've been listening to your previous episodes and I'm so honored to be a guest on
Mhm.
this.
Thank you.
Um, you're welcome. Like building it and like figuring it out. It's not unlike writing a novel draft, like you have to keep putting your paragraphs down and then you kind of figure out like, okay, here's where it's going and you're always learning and things like that. So I'm grateful that you're taking the time to do it. I know it takes a lot of work. I know it takes work to prepare for it and before the interview and after the interview. So, on behalf of all of your listeners, thank you.
Oh, thanks. That really means a lot, and I received that for sure. So thank you. But this has been a really fun conversation, and I can't wait. So I want to circle into your "Don't Ugly Cry While Driving." I'm putting that as my second read in my book club. So we start that. I'll be sending out an email this week and we'll be starting that in August. And I
Awesome.
would love if you would circle back with us and be part of our Meet the Author. And that's going to be its own podcast too. So I want to have you
Good.
back.
Absolutely.
Awesome.
Absolutely. Yeah. Tell your readers to get their journal ready too, because every chapter has a journal prompt with it.
Perfect. Those
So
are the types of
yeah,
books I'm taking in right now for this
nice.
club, so even better, even better, I can't wait to get it, or well, I have it, but I'm gonna get the hard copy so I can be with the others too, so thank you for that. So,
Yes.
alright, is there any question? I would love to know if you have one question, what would it be for my next guest or that I could even answer on my next solo?
Okay. Let's see. I did hear you ask this of someone else. I should have been prepared.
No, you're fine.
My question is, okay, can it be this? Because this is a question that I feel like we should all be answering is, what are you doing for the environment?
Mm,
Is that okay?
yes.
Okay. My answer is the butterfly trail. So it's like it's hot on my mind, but there could be many, many different answers and they don't have to be as big of a project as that.
Yeah, that's one thing I haven't gotten on my podcast. I've done medical, I've had a few doctors, I've had a few fitness experts and influencers in that way, many authors, and regular people just doing the best they can. But I've not had an environmentalist topic, and that sounds phenomenal, actually. So either way, I'm gonna work on that. That's my commitment for the
Awesome.
next sessions to come.
Well, thank
So
you. I look forward to hearing it.
well, thank you so much, Cherie Dawn. As there I will have, your link to your book. It's on Amazon either way, right? I'll have it in our show notes, and again, it's called "Don't Ugly Cry While Driving," and I will, make sure that that's accessible for everyone listening, and is there anything else as far as joining your, um I think you said you have a newsletter and joining that?
I do. Yeah, thanks for asking. So my website is simply cheriedawn.com. And then from there, you could sign up for my Substack. It's monthly, it's free. There is a paid version. So shout out to the people who are supporting it financially. I appreciate you. And yeah, I hope to see you there. They can find me on all the socials too. I love to connect with people. And other than that, just, take care of yourselves.
I love it. All right. Well, thank you so much, and we will speak soon. I can't wait.
Awesome. Thank you, Rachel.
Oh, well, what I love the most about this conversation with Cherie Dawn is the reminder that life doesn't have to be built through those giant leaps. And sometimes it's the smallest decisions, the ones that feel aligned, honest, and true, that completely change the direction of our lives. So, if you'd like to connect with Cherie Dawn, learn more about our books, or join our newsletter, you'll find all of that information in the show notes. And if you're looking for your next great read, be sure to check out Don't Ugly Cry While Driving. So that's also going to be part of my book club if that's something that you're interested in joining for when we dive into that book. I'd love to have you, but you'd have to join the newsletter first if you're not already. So either way, as always, thank you so much for spending time with us. And if this conversation resonated with you, I'd love for you to share it. Leave a review, join the FitZen community through the email list. And until next time, I want you to remember that you are your most important project. Keep showing up, keep growing, and keep creating a life that feels authentically yours. Oh. Take care, friends.